What if I told you there is a race where you run a 4.2 mile loop every hour on the hour until the last person is left standing? Well, there is one, and it's called a backyard ultra, and I signed up to do one. And if you're watching this video, then you probably signed up to do one too. If you've never trained for one before, it's a lot different than your typical marathon style training. You're not just training your body, you're training your mind, you're training your pace, training your fueling strategy, you're training endurance, you're training nutrition, you're training recovery, and you're training your ability to keep moving, to keep pushing when things get tough, because it's going to get hard, point blank, period. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I would recommend you train for a backyard ultra for this style of race. If you're a newbie or if you're a beginner like I am, it's going to be my first one, so it's kind of how I'm training for it. So if y'all are looking for good ideas for your training program, this is what we're going to get into today. Let's do it. So if you're new to backyard ultras, this is how it works. You're going to run a 4.167 mile loop every hour on the hour. So you start at the top of the hour. Say you start at 1 o'clock. You have until 2 o'clock to finish that loop. You can run it as fast as you want. You can run it as slow as you want. As long as you finish within that 1 hour, you're good. If you finish in 45 minutes, then guess what? You get 15 minutes to rest. If you finish in 58 minutes, then you get 2 minutes to rest. So you can run it as fast or as slow as you want to, depending on how much rest time you think you're going to need. And there's a strategy to it. You got to pace yourself. And then when the next hour is about to start, you line up at the start line and you do it all over again. And you keep doing this until there's only one person standing. So there is no finish to the race. You keep going until everybody except for one person quits. So unlike training for a marathon where you would train for speed, this is a little different. You're going to train more for endurance. Yeah, marathon is endurance, but you're going to train for sustainability in this. And you're training to see how far you can go, not how fast you can go. So that's where a lot of beginners will mess up. They'll treat this race like any other normal race. There's a lot of different strategy when it comes to this style of racing. So when it comes to training for this style of race, you're going to need patience, you're going to need pacing, you're going to need nutrition, you're going to need recovery, and you're going to need a lot of mental discipline and mental toughness when it comes down to this style of training. So when it comes to a backyard ultra, your goal is not to run fast, it's to run far. So one of the biggest places where beginners mess up is they'll try to run too fast too quickly. They try to overdo it, try to run too fast. You don't have to run fast. You get an hour. You get to do it in 60 minutes. So take as much time as you need to. You're definitely not going to be running this race at your 5K pace. You're not even at your marathon pace. Your goal is to finish each lap feeling good enough to do another one. That's the goal. You want to be able to say, oh, that was easy. That was too easy. That way you can line up and do it again, because you're going to have to keep doing that over and over and over again. You got to protect your legs as much as you can. You got to be smart when it comes to what you're doing. So if you go out too fast, you're probably going to end up getting too tired, too exhausted, too quickly, and you're not going to make it very far. You got to think of it this way. If you go out too fast, you're borrowing energy from your future self. When it gets later in the race, when you need that energy, well, you're burning it up earlier in the race because you went out too fast. So we got to preserve that energy as much as we can. So when it comes to our training also needs to reflect this. So a lot of our training, probably the majority of our training, will be at an easy pace, because we want to be able to pace ourselves. So it's going to be easy. And I know running super, super slow is not always fun, because you want to see how much you can push it. And yeah, there is a time and place for that kind of training, especially if you're doing a marathon. You probably will do a little bit of that in your ultra training, but the majority of your running is going to be very easy and slow pace. So if you've never trained for a backyard ultra before, the first thing we have to have is absolutely fundamental, is you have to have an aerobic base. So what does that mean? It basically just means you need to teach your body how to spend a lot of time on your feet, more specifically running. You got to get used to running. You got to get your body used to running. You got to get your aerobic system used to running, your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips. You got to have time on feet. That's going to be very, very important, because when it comes to race day, you're going to be on your feet the whole entire time. Don't worry about speed. Speed is not important for this style of race. If you're training for a marathon, that may be different. If you're training for a 5K, you're definitely going to be training for speed. When it comes to these ultra endurance races, we're going for distance. We're not necessarily going for speed. So when you're first starting your training, I want your goal to be time on feet. That's going to be king. So I want you to focus on easy runs, consistency, weekly mileage progression. So like slowly or mileage each week till we can get some very high mileage weeks. long runs, and then also recovery. You got to be smart about your recovery because you're going to be tearing up your body. You're going to be putting a lot of stress on your body. Recovery is very, very, very important when it comes to training for a backyard ultra. So for example, if you're doing 10 to 15 miles a week, what we want to do is slowly get up to at least 30 to 50 miles a week at least. But the key word there is slowly. Do it slowly. Work your way up 1, maybe 2 miles a week. Don't try to overdo it. Give yourself enough time to train for it. Don't say, oh, I'm going to do one in a month. Give yourself several months to train for this race so you can build your mileage up slowly. When you want to progressively build it up, because if you don't, you're going to injure yourself. It's just going to happen. And you see this time and time again, especially newer runners. They increase their mileage too fast, and before you know it, before race day, they done injure themselves. And it's either set them back and they're not going to be as prepared for the race, or it's taking them out of the race altogether. And we don't want that to happen. We want to show up to the start line on race day. That's the goal. We got to get there. And then once we get there, then we can execute. So once we build that aerobic base and we have a lot of time on feet, we're building up some endurance, we're getting our legs used to it, we got to start incorporating some back-to-back long runs. And the reason we do this is because you're going to be doing a lot of stopping and starting, because you're going to stop after every lap. You're going to stop until the next hour starts. So there's going to be a lot of transitioning from starting to stopping to running on tired legs. We got to get used to that. So we want to incorporate long runs on your weekends. So I say do weekend. It don't matter when you do it, but most people have work during the week and they're off on the weekend, so you have more time. So if that's how your schedule is, do it whenever you can fit it in, but back-to-back long runs. And this is to get yourself used to running on tired legs, because you're going to be running on tired legs. It's going to happen at some point. And you want to be able to get up and go again. Like you be able to get up when you're absolutely exhausted, your legs are tired, your legs are hurting, they're probably already sore. You want to be able to get up and go, and you got to learn how to run on those tired legs. So that's why we do these back-to-back long runs. You're going to incorporate these. Don't do them from the get-go. Don't do them from the start. Wait until you build up your aerobic base. Get your mileage up there and get used to having that time on feet. And then once we get up there in mileage, then we can start adding these back-to-back long runs in. And these are going to be critical for your training. And then after we do some back-to-back long runs, we want to incorporate some race day simulations. So what do I mean? You're going to run a 4.2 mile loop in your training. So like Saturday for long run, instead of just running, you're going to do a race day simulation. So you're going to do a 4.2 mile loop for an hour. Then you're going to stop somewhere. And then at the top of the next hour, you're going to do it again. And this can you can start this, doing 2 loops. And then the next time you do it, you can increase it. Depending on where your training is at, it's going to be different depending on where you're at. But yeah, you can do up to however many loops you want to do. I would suggest whatever your goal is for race day, however many loops your goal is to do, I would probably suggest doing at least half of that many loops in your training on one day. So like, for example, if your goal is 24 hours, which is 100 miles, if that's your goal, then I would suggest in your training, you should have a race day simulation of at least 12 loops. I would say that would be my opinion. I mean, some people may differ there, but I would say at least 12, if not more. If your goal is 100 miles, that's 24 loops. So yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb is whatever your goal is on race day, you should do at least half of that during your training. So if your goal is 12 loops, which is 50 miles, then in your training, you should do a race day simulation of at least 6 loops, which would be like, 25 miles or so, something like that. Do it for 4 to 6 hours, however long you want to do it. Incorporate some of these into your trainings, and then do your long run after that, like on the next day. Like say you did it on Saturday, you still do your back-to-back long run on Sunday, just to train your legs. Unless you did a lot and your legs are destroyed, then you may need to take the day off. Depending on how your body's reacting. That's up for you to judge. Don't overdo it. We don't want to be injured because we got to show up to race day. And when you do these race simulations, treat it like race day. Like practice everything you're going to do on race day on these simulations. So practice your fueling strategy, practice your nutrition, your pacing, how long you want to run the loop, practice wearing different shoes, practice eating different foods, practice your different electrolytes, all that. Whatever you think you're going to do on race day, start practicing that in your simulations. That way you can see what works and what don't work. So get you a chair, whatever chair you're going to use when you're running, set it up. Treat it like it's a race day, because this is going to help you with your fueling, your mental fatigue. It's going to help you your recovery timing, hydration, all that. You want to practice as much as you can. Practice like you're going to do the race. So that's going to help you out when it comes to race day, because you'll be more familiar with it and you'll know exactly what to expect when it comes to race day. So this next thing I want to tell you is something that a lot of runners will tend to skip out on, but I highly, highly recommend it, and that is strength training. You need to strength train while you're doing your endurance racing. And no, I don't mean you need to train like a bodybuilder. No. This is going to be very reduced levels of intensity when it comes to working out. We want to focus on, building up our glutes, building up our hamstrings, our core, our calves, our hips. That's what we want to focus on. We're not doing bodybuilding workouts. We're doing more like functional lifts, compound style lifts, because this is going to help build our bodies up and make it more durable. It's going to be able to make your body last longer. You're going to be able to, your muscles are going to last longer because they're stronger. They're not breaking down as much. They're going to be able to put up more of a beating. They're going to be able to last longer. So that's what we want to build up when we're doing the backyard ultras. And I recommend doing it for all your running. Definitely fit some in your training program as much as you can. Definitely don't overdo it. No more than 3 days a week. Probably more like 2 or even 1 day a week can do you good. Depending on where you're at in your training, the more your mileage goes up, the less you should probably work out, because your body's not going to be able to recover. So you got to be smart with it. Right now, I'm currently doing 3 days a week strength training, but the intensity is pretty low for the most part. So I can handle 3 days a week with my body. Your body may be different. I've been strength training for 12 years, so I've kind of built up a tolerance to it. So I'm just making sure I don't overdo it to where I'm not injuring myself. I would also recommend a lot of mobility work, stretching, any kind of mobility movements. This is going to be good for your recovery. Use your foam roller, use the massage guns, ice bath, whatever you got to do. Any type of like extra recovery you can do is great. Get you a lacrosse ball or some kind of ball and roll the bottom of your feet out. It's going to help loosen those muscles up in the bottom of your feet. That can be good. So definitely recommend that as well. The next section is nutrition. This is a big one, especially for an endurance race. You got to have nutrition. Point blank period. You got to have it. If you don't, you're not going to make it very far. And this is the one place where a lot of beginners tend to screw up because they don't realize how important it is. I'm not going to say they don't know. It's more of they're not aware. They don't realize how much it's affecting them, especially on these super, super long runs. So when you're wanting to go endurance, you're going to have to keep your calories up, your carbs up, your electrolytes up. You cannot wait until race day to figure out what types of food is going to work for you, because different foods sit differently on people's stomachs. So you got to figure out what works for you, what foods you like, what foods you don't like, what foods your body can digest well, things like that. So try them out in your normal running, and also try them out in your race day simulations as well. Try out different things, see what you like best. It's going to be critical. You got to replace those calories. You got to replace the carbs, the electrolytes, all that. So this is going to be one of the most important, aspects of your race day if you really want to go far. So things that you want to test out with your nutrition is your electrolyte levels. So like how much electrolytes you need to consume. You need to figure that number out because it's going to be different for everybody. You need to figure out how many carbs you need to consume, how much water you need to consume, how much sodium you need to consume, caffeine, solid foods. If you like gels, you need to figure this out, test it out to see what works best for you. The more you can eat, honestly, the better. Like the more your body can digest, the better, because you don't want to underfuel. Because once you get behind, it's going to be hard for you to catch back up. Like if you get behind, that's pretty much it. Like your body's not going to, you're going to end up giving out before you can catch back up. So we don't want to get behind on our nutrition and our electrolytes, hydration, things like that. So test this out in your training. Figure out how much your body needs, because depending on how big you are, how small you are, how much you weigh, how much muscle you have, everybody sweats differently. So you're going to have to test out yourself. I can't give you a specific number. I'm sure there's some calculators online that'll give you a good ballpark number. You can start there and then work your way up or down depending on what you need. Something that most people don't think about is like your stomach becomes part of the race. Like that's another factor in the race. Some people's stomachs don't digest as well. Some people do. Some people have never pushed themselves that far, so they don't know what their stomach's going to do. Some people got to use the bathroom, things like that. So it's going to become a part of the race at some point. So you got to get ready for it and you got to prepare for it. And the longer the race goes, the more important fueling becomes, because your body's going to run out of energy if you don't replace it. So the longer you go, the more important it is to refuel. So you'll see a lot of people on race day, they won't technically quit because their legs give out. A lot of them will quit because they stopped fueling properly. They just don't have the energy to keep going. Their body can't go because they didn't refuel themselves. So it's very, very important. Nutrition, remember that. All right. Another very, very important piece of an ultra marathon race, backyard ultra, whatever it is the mental side of it. The mental side is huge. What you don't realize is your body can go a lot further than you think. Most of the time, when somebody quits doing something because it's hard, they mentally quit. They don't physically quit. Like, what I mean by that is you tell yourself it sucks so bad that you quit, but your body could have kept going. So you're going to get to this point at some point in this race because there is no finish line. So you're going to get to the point to where you mentally want to quit, and you got to learn how to keep going, how to keep pushing. I promise you, your body can keep going. The human body is a crazy thing. It can keep going, I promise. You got to mentally push past that because it's tough, and it's going to get to a point to where it sucks, and you're going to want to quit. The race is eventually going to become less about fitness, and it's going to become more about the willingness to not give up, to not quit. So it's going to change from how far can I run to how long can I go without quitting, without giving up? Can I do one more loop? You know what I'm saying? That's what it's going to come down to. And some things that you're going to experience that you may not think of is boredom. Boredom is going to be huge. You're going to be running the same loop over and over and over again, and you're going to get bored. So that's something that's going to play a huge factor. If you haven't been on a run long enough to get bored yet, just wait. It's coming. Another thing you got to think of, sleep deprivation, because these races can go over 24 hours. So you're going to be exhausted, and you're not going to have any sleep. So that's something else we got to think about. Soreness, you're definitely going to get sore. I mean, we all know this. When you run a long ways, you're going to get sore. If you haven't got sore yet, just wait. It's coming. Doubt is going to creep in. You're going to start doubting yourself. Like I said, that's the mental toughness that you got to push through, because you're going to tell yourself, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't keep going. Oh, this sucks. Oh, I'm not going to win. Oh, I'm never going to finish this race. Whatever. There's negative thoughts, doubts, they're going to creep in. Just know that. So we got to build up the mental toughness to say, screw that. I'm going. I'm taking one more step. I'm doing one more loop. I'm not quitting. And to make it a little bit easier, don't think of small pictures. So like, don't think of like, oh, I got to go, 24 hours to win this race. Just think, I got to go one more loop. One more loop. Because if you don't go that one more loop, then you can't make it to 24 hours. You got to go one more loop. Make it smaller. Think smaller picture. And this will make it not so tough. Because if you think, oh, I got to run 10 more loops, that's going to suck. But if you say, oh, I only got to run one more loop, that's going to make it a little better. And then after that one more loop, guess what? You got to do one more loop. So I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but just trust me and try it out. It's you don't want to think like you have a lot more to run. So like, for example, if you're doing like a 100-mile race, you don't want to think, oh, I got 75 more miles to go. You want to think, I just got to make it to the next aid station. That's all I got to do. So that's a little hack you can use during your race. And my last little tip for y'all, especially if you're a beginner, for your training, just don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to make it too hard. Don't try to go out there on your first race and think, oh, I'm going to win. I need an elite level training program. I'm going to do all this extra stuff. Like if you're not a elite level runner already, don't worry about that. This is just your first one. We just want to go out there and see how far we can push ourselves. We're not looking to win the first race. We're just going for a mental battle with yourself. It's all about you. You're racing against yourself. You're not racing against everybody else. You're racing against yourself when it comes to these style of races. If you want to push and race other people in a speed race, go run a marathon. That's what they do. They run fast. These ultra endurance races are more about what you find out about yourself. What you learned in the process of training for it. How far you can push your body, push your mind, and how far you can go without giving up. So that's what these races are about. So don't overcomplicate your training. Literally just focus on being consistent with your runs, easy miles, long runs, back-to-back long runs, race simulations, practice your nutrition, and make sure you're recovering properly. That's really all you got to do. You don't have to get too complicated with it. You don't have to, write down all your paces and hit certain thresholds and do intervals and all that kind of crap. You don't have to do that. You just got to be consistent. But most importantly, be patient, though. Don't try to rush it. You will get injured, and you won't be able to get there on race day. So let's not let that happen. We don't want that to happen. The thing I love about a backyard ultra is it's the one race where you have to be like the most patient. You have to be the most patient because you can only run 4 miles at a time, and then you got to stop, and then you got to do 4 miles again. You can't just keep going like most races. Most races, you just keep going until you're at the finish line. Well, there is no finish line. So you got to be patient. It's a very different style of racing. It's a different mental aspect of it. It's definitely brutal on your body. So just buckle up and get ready for it. So if you are doing a race, Backyard Ultra, comment below. Let me know what race you're doing. I want to know. I'm doing the Zombie Backyard Ultra in Pelham, Alabama, August 29th. That's the one I'm doing. So I'm training right now. I'm about a month and a half or so in my training. So I'm looking forward to it. And if you want to see any other videos about backyard training, I'm posting every week. So hit that subscribe button. And I'm just taking y'all through my training and how I'm training for it. So y'all be sure to tune in for that. And remember, you don't have to be the fastest person to succeed in the Backyard Ultra. You just got to keep going. You just got to show up for one more loop. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the slowest. You just got to go one more loop. That's all I got for y'all. Y'all have a great day. Peace, love, protein. We out.